All right, there we go. Just want to say welcome to a special edition of the Last Ones at the Bar. Today you have the Stephen Cool Boy Fulton versus the Monster Inoue in action today. I know that was like a crazy fight, as far as the outcome, but we wanted to just make sure we hopped on to mainly discuss that, and a host of other things leading up. Also, you had the Grand Arrivals, for the Spence Crawford today. So it's been a pretty big day in the sport of boxing. My name is Wilton Henry, and again, I'm accompanied by Lavelle Jackson and Daniel Lee. How we doing? Pretty much midweek, fellas, or close to midweek.
Yeah, close to midweek. Busy. I've been having a long day, but been following everything that's been going on. So I'm just excited to discuss, of course, the fight that happened this morning, and also the fight that will happen this weekend. The fights that will happen this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I mean, to think of it now, like the week, and then on top of that, got up early to watch the card this morning. Thankfully, Ramirez did what I thought he would do, so I had time to make breakfast in between that fight and the Inoue fight. But yeah, I'm feeling good, bro. How you feeling?
I'm better now. Obviously on the weekends this summer, I had been having more of an opportunity to hang and bang a little bit, but now it all caught up to me, man. Like I'm dragging right now, and like I told you, off screen, that today was the first day I looked up and I really didn't have any like job related things to do. I could just focus in on what it is I need to do. But I was dragging, man. I saw a little bit of the what is it? You said Robasai? Is that his name? Robasi. I saw a little bit of his fight. I saw the knockout. But then I just kept taking naps. And finally I got up, to see the masterful display that the Monster Inoue put on. Let me go ahead and pull up the presentation here. So I'm saying all that to say it won't be any sipping in this episode right here. I need to slow down a little bit. All right, so now.
What's funny, I thought about it, but after I worked out, I was like, man, you don't do that after you work out.
It's nothing but water for me, man. I'm telling you, back home. And so really, if I don't want to do anything until I get out to Brazil, but that's not going to be, possible, when I get back to Milwaukee. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get off into, the Loch Ness Monster, you know what I mean? So without further ado, we can go ahead and start talking about what we saw today out there in Tokyo. Lavelle, what were your thoughts on that masterful display by the Monster?
Yeah, like you said, it's a masterful display. This was one of the all-time great performances from Inoue. I actually thought that Inoue would lose to Fulton close, like a split decision. I thought it would be a real close fight. So even if I could, there was a time when I could see the Inoue stopping Fulton, but I thought even if he did that, it would be a more competitive fight. This one, it just from start to finish, Inoue, he really showed a lot of wrinkles to his game. He showed why he's the monster. He showed why he's in that argument of pound for pound. This is a performance where I'm not sure. Before this fight, I would say, hey, the winner of Crawford Spence is pound for pound #1 regardless. But after this performance, I don't know. Inoue is top 3, top 2. Like you can't argue it after this. There was always people were looking at his resume saying he hasn't fought a certain type of fighter. He hasn't fought the slick style or African American style per se. And he was also moving up in weight. This is his 4th weight class. So he shut everybody up. He shut me up. So he was using the ring. He was what impressed me was not only that he just beat Fulton, he was outboxing Fulton. He was landing that wheel. Fulton was trying to land his punches in between, but Inoue would just varying his shot selection up. He would go to the body and then go to the head, and it was all these different things he was doing, and pretty much he took away Fulton's confidence very, very early. And I thought that was key because Stephen Fulton, he came in this fight, he's a confident guy. He has his crazy engine. I'm still actually high on him that he can do all these different things when he's in the ring. It's just that when you see this fight go on, you can see in his eyes that sense of, man, what did I get myself into? I'm gonna have to survive this. But he's a tough guy. He stayed in there. He took some hard punches, and then once it got to I think it was even the 7th round, he was still trying to make some things work. But Inoue just had to answer for everything he did, and the power it carried up. So in the 8th round, Inoue hit. He caught Fulton, with a right hand, and then and Fulton pretty much slumped over, but he didn't really go down. Then Inoue hit him with that left hook that pretty much put him on his seat. So Fulton got up. He was visibly hurt. I thought it was a possibility he could have survived that round, but then I looked at the clock. I was like, it's too much time. So then Inoue just went to work on him, man, and just stopped him in the corner. And even when the referee just stepped in there, Fulton just fell in the corner. So Inoue, I think he has 2 of the belts now. And it was just a masterful performance. And even when it comes to Stephen Cool Fulton, he got a lot of criticism after this fight. Like I saw people making jokes about him. People who don't really follow boxing, people that just like to hop on message boards or on Facebook and just say stuff, man. And he don't have anything to really be ashamed about, because I still think that he's capable of. He's still that guy, one of those guys in the division that he'll take you out still. My thing is, I hope that he doesn't lose too much, confidence, because this was one of those fights where, you can definitely lose a lot from. But it was a masterful performance from Inoue. He really put himself up there to say, hey, I know y'all talking about Crawford and Spence, but hey, look, y'all got to mention me too, because I'm that guy too. So what are your thoughts with it?
Oh man, it was one for the ages, man. First and foremost, I'll get the Cool Boy in a second. I do want to commend him for going out there to Japan, taking on that task and having pretty much the card stacked against him. Inoue's a phenom out there. You saw how packed, the stadium was. They love him out there, but he didn't need any of that. I think he'd have beat Fulton in his living room, back in Philly if they fought there. It just, what I was impressed with most, because I don't know, going into this fight, I didn't know what to expect, because I've never seen Inoue face somebody who was slick, who was quick, and had some of the prerequisite skills that I saw Fulton showcase in some of his fights. But so the first thing I'm looking for is, how do they match up? So out the gate, Inoue just looked way too comfortable. Like he was just over there, like he knew what it is he wanted to do. He was getting off. That footwork is remarkable, man. Like he can dart in and dart out. Kind of Manny Pacquiao-ish, not quite the same, but the speed is with his feet, getting in and getting out, as well as the hand speed, and then the power, and the viciousness, of the punches that are coming at you. You're not going to see anything like that from up until you get maybe to 130. You might have some guys who can crack, not quite like that, as far as like the speed in which it's coming at you in an unorthodox nature, because you're not just used to somebody running in like that who can zap, everything from you. You can go to the body too, So I knew that Cool Boy was in some trouble when the first round went by. Inoue, easy. Second round, easy. Then it became a pattern around the 5th round. If you were just going to be like a sympathy round, you may have given that to Fulton because he did better. He landed a few shots, and he landed some shots in this fight. Inoue showed a good set of whiskers, because he was fighting against a bigger guy, although Cool Boy is not that big of a puncher. But 5 rounds go by, and I remember Cool Boy goes to the corner. I don't know if he was sitting prior to that or if he just stands all of the time, but his corner man was telling him, he said, have a seat. And he was like, no, he didn't want to sit down, but it was more so in frustration. And I knew, I was like, dang, this man is down 5 rounds. It's already a daunting task. People were thinking that he was going to be the one ahead in the fight. And to only have 8 KOs with 20 victories, I'm like, that's going to be very difficult, to change the trajectory of this fight. And so that's when I knew he was in some trouble. And so Cool Boy got to a point. Remember the 7th round. I want to say it was the 7th round. He's a dog now. He's undefeated. He's not used to losing. He doesn't know how to lose up until this fight. So in the 7th round, I remember him because he was doing a lot of boxing. He was moving back a lot, trying to counter, which is difficult to do against Inoue unless you get his respect, and he didn't have his respect. So he got to a point where he was trying to turn the tide and kind of be the aggressor. Inoue did the one thing that I like fighters to do, and most fighters will do it if they got power like that. What he did was he came back and he just threw a couple punches. I don't even know if he was trying to land those shots. It was just a message that he sent to Fulton, like, okay, you can come up here if you want to. And so immediately I saw Fulton's demeanor change where he went back to boxing. And so it just, how was he going to win that fight? I think he had like a moment or two, maybe in the 7th. He caught Inoue with something. I was like, dang, Inoue better, not get too reckless. But all in all, he got it together. And like you said, in the 8th round, he was able to take Cool Boy out. I don't want to, damper anything, with this win. I have Inoue like right now as we speak. I would put him number 1, pound for pound. It's mainly because of the eye test. Like the man has offense for days, and his defense is a lot better than I thought. So I have to give him credit for that as well, and to be winning these titles in these different weight classes. As of now, I will have a number 1. But once Saturday rolls around, if we have a definitive winner, then I will have one of those guys because Inoue just doesn't have a Crawford, a Spence. And his resume is kind of, the best 2 wins would be Donaire and then Fulton. And again, I don't want to damper on Cool Boy because I think you guys saw him a little bit higher than I had him. But, like I say, going into the fight, it was just more so I've never seen Inoue fight a slick fighter. And he was fighting in this new weight class against a slick Philly fighter. Last thing I'm going to say is I also want to just commend Inoue for this. And that is him. See, a lot of times guys go up to a new weight class. They're not going after the top gun. Like they'll go after a champion, or they might, something like that. But he went after the guy in that weight class. So you have to tip your hat to him for that as well. But all in all, man, excellent performance by the monster. Anybody who was kind of doubting him, I heard a lot of people on podcasts and things of that nature. They were saying they were like just picking Cool Boy. It was like Cool Boy is going to beat him. He's too big, too slick. Who is Inoue beaten? So now you got to go ahead and put some respect on his name.
You got to, man. You got to. Yeah, I saw it pretty similar to you guys, but it was just those little things. Like you commented on one of the subtleties in that 7th round, Will, and I felt like he kind of like it was those little things that really kept the fight in control for him, like in the 1st round, both opponents started out feeling each other, but in a way it was like halfway through the round, it was just like he didn't say it with his mouth, but he said it with his body language. He was like, okay, and then that's when he started to become the aggressor. He started changing levels with the body, and he wasn't even throwing any twos yet. He was just throwing body jabs, head jabs, and was landing them sharp, super sharp. At round 2, when I predicted the fight, I was like, Cool Boy's best chance at winning is on the inside. He's a really good in fighter, and he had the range, but he had Fulton. He was landing in a way was so clean that Fulton was on his bike. You don't want to see an in fighter on his bike. You know what I mean? He was doing a lot of moving around in that 2nd round. And I was like, man, this dude, if he needs a chance, he has to close the distance. But he couldn't, because like every time I would see, he would do this kind of shift where he would try to get inside, and Inoue would catch him. Like Inoue would see it coming. He would punch him where he was going. And so it was like he couldn't get on the inside. And then on the third round, he tried to switch to fighting off the front foot instead of the back foot. But he still wasn't really able to find success. And Inoue is like really like shifty. You know what I mean? Like those little subtle movements, whereas like you don't know what he's gonna do, and the next thing you know, like boom, up jab. Next thing you know, body shot. You know, and so like it was hard for someone like, you know, they were saying on the commentary like he needs to let his hands go. It's like win, like as a fighter, like win, because like it's hard to catch the rhythm for somebody who just like always moving. You don't know when they're gonna move it. There's like random movements, and then you don't know when that jab is gonna pop out. And then by this point, Inoue is throwing it 2 as well, and that 2 is landing. And so yeah, it was in round 3 and 4 kind of looked similar to me. Round 5, both of them started to unload combos. You know, Fulton was less gun shy, and he was like, I'll give him credit because he was blocking some of what was coming to him, but even what he was blocking looked like it was affecting him. And at that point, it's like, what do you do? You know, again, the little things. It's like, okay, I'm blocking, but my, you know, like some of the fighting games, like you'll block, but your health is still like depleting a little bit. So it's like, all right, what do you do? And then I think that was when he landed the good cross to Inoue, but that was like really the first shot of significance he had landed. And then, yeah, similar to you, Will, around the 56th round, I was like, man, he needs a knockout. He needs a knockout to win this fight, and he's not going to get a knockout. So worst case scenario by round 6 was an Inoue decision. But it also looked like he was kind of wearing down as well. So it was like, man, and yeah, he was stuck fighting on the outside, and Inoue was able to pick him apart there. It was telling that like Fulton in the 7th round, Fulton outlanded Inoue. But from watching the fight, you wouldn't have known because Inoue's shots that he did land were that dominant. And Fulton's body language wasn't the type of body language that you would see from someone who's outlanding someone that round. He was hurt and he was fighting off a straight heart. You know what I mean? Because nothing that he was doing was working. Nothing he was doing. And you can tell, like Will said, you could tell in that 5th round, going back to the corner, he was frustrated. And so this was 2 more rounds of being hurt even more badly and being even more frustrated that what you came to do wasn't working. And so we know what happened after the 7th round, so I won't harp on that. But I want to give Cool Boy his flowers. He asked Heyman for this fight. Heyman granted. He went out there. He was the champion, but he was essentially a challenger. He went out there. He dared to be great. Massive respect. He went out on the shield. He just ran into a generational talent. Inoue is just one of those guys. He is a creative player. In terms of pound for pound, I don't want to discredit any of the fighters because like the difference between him and the other 3 that I have up top, which would be Bud, Spence, and Usyk is he swapped the fight already, but if you were to shuffle any, the winner of Spence Crawford, Usyk and Inoue, any of those 3, I won't argue, but he's up there. Like there's no like his resume, whatever. He went straight for the top guy, and he did what he needed to do, and he made it look easy. This win made Donaire look better. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones. And it was so dominant that after the fact, they're asking like, well, what happens if he fights Robesi? So it was that good of a win where they're already moving him up to featherweight. But that's all I got.
About him and Tank. That's what they saying.
I saw that nonsense.
Yeah, that's bizarre, and I'm like, I mean, hey, them people that probably don't follow boxing a lot, man, don't understand weight classes.
Yeah, well, you know what? To be honest with you, he might be Tank's toughest opponent, man.
or he saw Cruz toughest opponent.
The thing is that with those guys, it kind of reminds me of because as long until he gets clipped, and that very well can happen but I think that he felt like he had Cool Boy tame, and so he was getting, a few times he'd get hit with some shots, but you just can't get hit by Tank. But I think that depending on how much that power translate up to that, that high, he's offensively gifted. And if you get the tapping on somebody more than they used to getting tapped on, then you might have them gun shy a little bit more because he's so fast too. But his physique, I don't know if he's able to, put on that type of weight, like 13, 14 more pounds than what he is weighing. He's already kind of small, but he looks perfect right there. What he looked like today.
Yeah, he did look. It was weird because at the weigh-in you could see the size difference, but in the ring he didn't look too much smaller than Steph. So he'll fit right in at that weight class.
What they talked about too, because I know you fellas wanted to talk about where he goes from here. And so, and then you mentioned the punch test. So I'll leave them right there for a second. And you see the domination in total punches, the domination in jabs, power punches. Like, it was just a whitewash, across the board. And like you said, it looks like you said that was the 7th round that Fulton actually landed more power punches.
Landed more. Wait, let me see. He landed more punches in general. It looks like it was even amount of power punches landed.
Oh, because of the jabs.
Yeah.
Because of the jabs, yeah. But that was a clinic, man. That was a masterful performance. But also, I know somebody should introduce this, but they were saying this right here that Inoue and Marlon Tapales is planned for November for the undisputed already. So that right there. He should be able to check that. I wonder what would he do like after that? Like, what would his plans be?
Well, you let Aram tell it. He was saying today that him and Ramirez could fight down the road. That could be a fight that happens, and they're both top ranked, and so it is possible that Ramirez. So you got Luis Alberto Lopez fights Joet Gonzalez. I think he's gonna wash Gonzalez or at least beat him. It's possible that Ramirez and Lopez unifies. He becomes undisputed, he being Inoue, and then he vacates those belts and moves up to fight whoever wins that, the unified champ. Because there's nobody else after he beats those two guys. There's nobody else for him at 122.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much where does he go from here? The only thing I'll say for Cool Boy is like I do believe he'll be a champ again. For that reason, I think literally in November or whenever they fight, he's going to win undisputed, and he's going to vacate those belts, and then Cool Boy will still be ranked pretty high, and he'll probably fight for a vacant belt unless he decides to go up to 126.
Yeah. So where Inoue goes, it's obvious he's gonna unify with Marlon Tapales. I'm not sure if he's gonna move up or just stay at 122 and just start cleaning the clock even more. I'm not sure because each time you move up, you make yourself more vulnerable. I don't know if he wants to chase greatness like that. Maybe he does, but we do know his next fight, 80% chance is going to be Marlon Tapales. Now for Coop Boy, I think this is a time where he just needs to get his confidence back because I think he's probably a lot better as a fighter than how he feels right now, after a loss like that, because who in the super bantamweight list besides Inoue do you have beaten Fulton? You know what I'm saying? So I think, matter of fact, I would favor Fulton. If Fulton was able to get his confidence back and get back a little bit to his form, I think he would beat Marlon Tapales. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe
I don't think he's gonna be able to make 122 anymore, though.
That's true too. But then even when let's say he moves to featherweight, There's still the rematch with Brandon Figueroa. He's probably will be looking at, who is I believe is the interim champion at featherweight right now. There's still fights out there for Stephen Fulton, you know. So the important thing right now is because let's say he fights another fight at 122. Remember what they used to call him out? I think it was Rais Alim. I mean, that'd be a good confidence building fight for a cool boy, you know.
I don't think he can make 122, so I wouldn't even be, because he looked a little drained to me today, and he was already anticipating going to 126. I think this is similar to Devin Haney as far as staying in a weight class only for certain fights, and so this was a great opportunity. So he stayed at 122 for it, but I don't think he would stay there for any of those other guys. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But even at 126, I think he's still a live dog there, you know, given his style and what he brings to the table. So,
Yeah. So you got 126, like you said, you got Fig. You got Ray.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you got
Mixayo. He's in there.
Mixayo. See, here's the thing though. Like, I don't see, and again, I don't want to, you know, talk down on Cool Boy because I like Cool. I think he's a cool dude. But at the same time, I thought that he was feasting on guys because he appeared to be just a little bit bigger than those dudes. But he also was just too athletic for him as well. And a lot of those guys don't have that zap in their punches. Once you go to 126, there's a couple guys up there that can clean your clock.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking at. I mean, you look at him, somebody like him against somebody like Bronco. you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Bronco Maxwell got some pop in his punches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be danger that lurks, you know, when you're messing around with some of those dudes up, you know, in that weight class. What about is Gary Russell still around there, or is he? I don't know.
Well, Gary wants to move up, but you know what? If Gary decides to stay at 126 for a cool boy fight, I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at that at all.
Cool, that'd be bad for Cool Boy. Gary Russell.
No, man, Gary kind of, you know, he dealing with some injuries. He's getting up there in age. He's not as active. You know, it's a lot of things. Even though at their best, at their peak, of course, I'm gonna pick Gary Russell. But I mean, how much is Gary Russell's heart in it right now?
Oh, I think his heart gonna always be in it. Like he's a fighter to the core. It's just more so his injuries and things like that, management, and being inactive so much. Like that's the things with him. But I always think he always gonna have that lion heart. Yeah. So what about this one? Only reason I'm introducing this one is because of the fact that I didn't see it. You know, I just saw the knockout. So what did you guys think about this fight right here?
Yeah. I'll start out by saying that Ramirez, and when he fights, he can tend to do things that make fights a little harder than they have to be. Like he'll still get the job done, but he'll kind of do things. Like for example, it worked out for him today, but you know, you're fighting a 5'11" featherweight, and he has 5 inches on you, I believe, and you're like kind of punching up, like you're head hunting, and every punch you're throwing is like up. He could have wore him down to the body. It probably could have made an easier fight. But that said, it was still an easy fight, you know. So I can't even be mad at him because you know, Shimizu, he came out in the high guard, and so that allowed for Ramirez to get the body work off anyway. And then he started changing levels. Yeah, he was sharp, you know, like and Shimizu's jab at first was pretty sharp too, but his attack just wasn't ranged enough. His footwork was slow. And that was what I was afraid of for him watching, you know, for what I had seen from him before coming into this fight. And then like in round 2, Shimizu just made it kind of easy to headhunt, to be honest with you. Because Ramirez was punching around. He was punching around the high guard with the lead and the rear hook, and then he was punching through the high guard because then he had to put his earmuffs on, and so yeah, Shimizu was game, but he was just there was nothing he could really do with it. And then in the third round, he was trying to be more offensive, so he kept his guard down, but he was susceptible to the counterpunch. And so at that point, Ramirez started to infight more. He came with the high guard to get closer, and then he worked from there. And then he started landing uppercuts. He would kind of like, so boom, high guard, you get in, and then you like once you're in, with your high guard, he starts throwing them uppercuts, and they started finding success. But yeah, it was just too much for him, and he was wearing them down. And you kind of saw by as late as the second round, maybe third, that Shimizu was living off borrowed time. And then Ramirez had him hurt in the fourth round, and you could tell that he was trying to like turn it on and kind of get him down or get the stoppage. But and I think that he did disregard that. But yeah, he did what he needed to do there. And then in the fifth round, he just found that overhand like early and often. And that's when it was no knockdown in the fourth round. It was the fifth round where Shimizu took the knee. And by that time, his nose was just like bloody. And Ramirez smelled blood, figuratively and literally. And he just did work until the ref stopped it. And so, this was a fight where, like I said, coming into it, I felt like, Shimizu was super popular in Japan because he was a two-time Olympian. And he wasn't very high ranked in the section and body, but they were doing him a solid because he's often on Inoue cards. And the fans love him. But Ramirez did what he was supposed to do, and this was more or less a tune-up fight for him. A showcase fight / tune-up fight for him. So salute to him. In terms of where he goes from here, like I said a second ago, I think that there's a good chance that he unifies, and I think he mentioned this too afterwards, but a good chance he unifies with the winner of Joet Gonzalez and Luis Alberto Lopez. What about you, Will? What'd you think?
Yeah, they did him solid, all right. He was getting hit with them solid uppercuts, man. And like, man, Shimizu, like I said last week, just he's tall, but doesn't use his length at all. He fights with his hands up, but he balls up kind of like how he was balling up, kind of like how Antonio Margarito was when Pacquiao was just letting off on him, just keeping his hands up because he can't really do anything. And his jab is just, he actually uses his jab, but it's so slow. It's like Joe Joyce, man. It's not even accurate like Joe Joyce. At least when Joe Joyce throws slow punches, he knows where he's in position to know where your head or your body is going to be. Shimizu, he was outsped and outgunned from the start, and he was broken from, like you said, he was broken by like the second round. So it was only a matter of time before Ramirez got him out of there. And really, the way Shimizu's fight, the way he fights, he was tailor made for Ramirez to showcase Ramirez's skill, and what he can do. So that's pretty much what I saw in that fight. Where he goes, of course, I mean, he should try to unify, but who knows when it comes to Bob Arum, what he wants to do. He'll say one thing and do another thing. So, but what are your thoughts, Will?
I have no thoughts on Robesi Ramirez, sir. Not yet. We think he's what would you rate him in that weight class though? Is he top 5, top 3?
I'll have to look at the rankings.
I think I would give him top 5. I mean, so the way the ring has it now, just to help you out, Vil, the ring actually has they don't have like a ring champion, but the top 5 they have is Lopez, Ray Vargas, Lee Wood, Fig, and then they have Ramirez at 5. And then just to give you the 6 and 7, they have Bronco at 6, Mixayo at 7.
I mean, I have no issues with that. I mean, I can see him as number 5 or even number 6. To me, it comes off as like he's more of a guy on the way up, and then not really arrived yet. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A focused Bronco, the Bronco that came in against Warrington, might take at least that 5 spot. You know what I mean? But to have him at top 5, I would not disagree with that right now. Because you got to fight the fights. He might be more skilled than Fig, but Fig is gonna impose that size. Lee Wood has a fighter's heart. Vargas is gonna have that height advantage, but Vargas is gonna he's really going to he has gifts that Shimizu didn't. You know what I mean? And Lopez is another one of those guys that are on the way up. So it could go any way. You just gotta fight the fights. But I'm not mad at top 5.
So one fight we never discussed if Inoue was to move up was Inoue versus Fig. Be fun to watch.
It would be fun to watch. I just think it's not super likely. But it would be a fun fight. I would think Inoue would eventually do the same thing. It might be a decision win, but I think it would be a beating. It's just a matter of how his power would carry up to 126. But I think that the same thing, Fig is big, but how do you impose your size when every time you try to do something, you get caught with a sharp jab, a sharp body jab, a up jab, or whatever, So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, Fig is just big, and he's not like accurate or anything like that. Anytime that you have a guy that's not accurate, that's kind of like a swarmer, and you're going against somebody with some power like that, speed like that, accuracy, it's only a matter of time. And he gets hit flush, and he's not going to be because, okay, let's say, for instance, he's able to take the punishment and he's not getting knocked out, which I think that eventually he would. It's only so much your face can take. So he's going to get busted up. I've seen him swell up against other guys. And you talking about somebody who's going to be like pinpoint accuracy. No, he wouldn't be able to deal with him. It would probably somewhere like 5 on. It's just a matter of how much he can take. But no, he can't mess with him. What about you, Bill? What you think?
About which fight?
You asked about Fig, sir.
Oh, I just said it would be a fun fight. I mean, I wouldn't know until they get the ring. I mean, of course, I would favor the monster, and I think style-wise, Fig gonna take a lot. But also, I think Fig is a little more comfortable with taking punches like that than even Kuboy was. Even when you look at their fight, Kuboy was just able to adapt easier and have more wrinkles to his game.
It's one thing to be comfortable taking punches, but it's the ability, like just the human body being able to withstand it. I equate that fight to be something like Margarito when he was fighting Pacquiao. To me, it would be very similar to something like that. But I think that Margarito was better than Figueroa. That's why, okay, I'm gonna go back to what I was gonna say before. I was trying to be nice to Cool, but that's why I never really. Only thing I was thinking in this fight, I'm saying, okay, is Inoue like that dude? I saw him. He didn't look that good in his last fight, but again, he wasn't really fighting anybody, and it's hard to get up for Paul Butler. But when I looked at Cool Boy, I never saw what everybody was saying, like, oh, he's this dynamic, guy who can. I just thought that he was just a little bit bigger than the 122-pound guys that he was facing. They were kind of limited. He reminded me of Broner, not that they fight alike, but the ability to take advantage of that type of quality opposition. I never saw him face somebody who was just like a devastating punch or anything like that that could really, deter him. I was impressed at how he went about certain fights where he would beat the guy at their own style. But when you have like only 8 knockouts, you fight an elite precision puncher, you know, it's tough. But again, I thought that he was the size advantage that he had, that might cause, you know, trouble to Inoue. But that never was the case. He never like put himself in that position, like you said, Vale. It wasn't that big of a size advantage, and I attribute that to him constantly trying to make weight. I was talking to G5 Jeff earlier. G5 Jeff was in the gym with him, and he was saying that, you know, he's easily 155 or so inside the gym, and it's like it's not much fat on him or any fat. And so for you to be continuously trying to shrink yourself down, that's gonna start, you know, affecting your muscles and things like that. Because he didn't look that big today, you know, in comparison to Inoue. And to me, he looked bigger in the past. And so, but again, I didn't think much of those guys in the first place. As far as Fig and Fulton, I thought Fulton a little bit better, at a fight of the year type fight. But it's just certain weight classes that have champions, and you have dudes who have unification belts and stuff like that. It's not like Spence having those belts and the guys that he beat with the eye test and things of that nature. I think Canelo, when he went through the guys that he went through, like that's really a challenging weight division, especially at the top. You know, people like that. Or even Usyk, like getting, you know, collecting those belts and things like that. So it's a difference, man. It's a difference. Them dudes are like a little bit better than Cambosis to me. Anything else you guys have, you know, as I just shitted on Inoue's victory, you know?
Yeah, keep in mind, Will, it is a sport weight class. And not that it's a sport weight class, really, he started below that. It's a couple weight classes he skipped. So really he started at 108.
Right. So I'm not saying anything bad about Inoue. I'm just saying, like, I just never. So you talking about Figueroa. Like, I just never thought that much of him in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just see a big, clunky guy who's just bigger than most guys. He's just like a big, strong guy who's not really fighting the greatest opponents, and he's able to pummel dudes that he's bigger than. But you get in there with a sharp shooter, man, that's going to be ugly, man. That's going to be real Sam Cassell, man. All right. So
hey, wait. Now you disrespecting Sam Cassell. Call him an alien and stuff too.
I ain't say that. I just said it's going to get real Sam Cassell.
You draw pictures of him?
Want to get off into these predictions?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Who was that on?
It's on you, bro.
Okay. Well, next week we got Senicia Estrada. She's going to be facing Leonela Yudica, you know, in a title matchup. Like you said last week or the other day, Danny, that this is not an easy match. But what do you guys think about Superbad going into this one?
So you got Senicia, Superbad Estrada, 24-0, 9 knockouts, 5 deuce, 63-inch reach. It's coming off her win with Tina, I believe I can't pronounce the name. I think it's Tina Rupert or something. Rupert. That was a great performance for her, where she really pretty much put on a showcase against a game opponent where she could have got Tina out of there but didn't. And it was an exciting fight with her. Now she's taking on Leonela Yudica, who was 19-1-3 with 1 knockout. And I watched some of her fights too, you know, leading up to this prediction. And she is actually, I think she has more power than her record would indicate, that 1 KO. Some of her fights, man, she be snapping some heads back. She really be putting the pressure on some of the women. The only problem is with Estrada, I think Estrada is just she uses her jab more and she follows it up with that right hand. She has a real nice 1-2 punch, and she's going to have more power than Yudica will have. Plus, Estrada has more dimensions to her game than Yudica, even though Yudica she's really, really good at pressuring opponents. But you also got to look at the level of opponents she fought. So, in this fight. I do think it's going to be an exciting fight. I do think that Estrada, to me, is a little bit sharper of a boxer than Yudica, so she'll probably win a decision over Leonardo Yudica.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to go ahead and agree with you, sir. But the main reason is that it's what you said as far as the power. When you have ladies, even though Dika looks like a pretty talented challenging opponent for Estrada, I just think that sometimes the separation comes in when you have someone who does have have more zap on their punches than the other fighter. And so I'll just leave it at that, based on what I've seen. I've seen limited footage of both ladies, but with the 2-minute rounds, the skills that Senicia has, the talent that her opponent has, it just leads me to believe that this is going to be a 10-round unanimous decision for Senicia Estrada.
Yeah, interesting. So almost all of Yudica's fights have been in her home country, Argentina, except for 2. She fought one in Chile back in 2014, and the other was in San Diego against Arely Musino last October. That was when she lost by a split decision. And I was checking, digging up info on her, and I saw her Instagram. If my Spanish correct, she's also a professor of primary education there and a city councilor in the city of Chimbas, Argentina. That said, she held the IBF World Flyweight Championship for 8 years. And that fight that she lost against Musino, that was a close, tough fight, for her to be her first fight in the States. So she's world level opposition. And that fight was close. Like it really came down to, did you want to see Yudica's technical boxing ability, or did you want to see a come forward, aggressive pressure fighter like Musino, who wasn't afraid to get hit? And I like what I saw from her in that fight. Obviously, the judges chose the come forward pressure fighter. Estrada is another one of those who was also a come forward pressure fighter and has some real good boxing ability. And she's sharp. She can hit. She's a smaller woman, but she's moved up in weight and won, and she can really crack. And so, I suspect Yudica will use that same style and try to time Estrada coming in. But I think Estrada is going to be too good in those exchanges, and I think she's going to end up winning by decision as well. You guys have anything else on this one?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, so we do want to do due diligence to the big card that's coming up, and so although we have gone over the Spence Crawford prediction, we have gone over the Donaire and Santiago prediction, and if you guys heard that already, appreciate you listening. But really quickly, we're gonna go through the predictions again, like super quick. So just starting with Spencer Crawford, can you guys quickly state your picks for that one again? And if you want to give a brief synopsis on why, the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, Vale, I can start this time. So in the Terrence Bud Crawford Errol Spence fight, I think there's going to be an amazing matchup. I think that both guys are going to bring it. You got 2 high-level fighters, 2, I would say, top 3 caliber talent, guys. It depends on where you have, Bud Crawford. For me, I have Spence number 1, and it's just because of the competition. But Bud could very well be number 1 pound for pound just based on his talent, his accolades, and things of that nature. This has been, a lot has been brewing up, to get to this point. As far as how the fight is going to play out, I just, my gut tells me that Spence, with his competition level, still sharp and steel, taking belts from the other titleists that he's taken them from, being on the PBC side where they had pretty much all of the welterweights in their prime. I think that they're just gonna bowl well for him in a fight against a guy who has gotten titles from Derry Jean and Julius Ndongo. Um, the what's the dude name from Australia that he got the title from? Like, come on, man! Like that right there within itself is going to be a difference because you can't consistently fight that level of competition and just voila. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and fight the toughest guy that I face at welterweight, and I just think that that's going to be the determining factor. So no cap or anything like that. I predict Errol Spence to win a 10-round TKO victory over Terrence Bud Crawford.
Oh, so it's not a Spence draw anymore?
There's no cap, man. There's no cap in my rap.
All right. Be sure to change that, Danny. So when I look at this fight, I'm not so sure what happens in this fight. And that says something because we just saw a fight this morning with Inoue and Fulton that I was more sure about what I thought we would see in that fight than I am here. And that's saying something. This fight, I can see this. I hopefully there is a very competitive fight and it's contested and there's a lot of action. And I can see the only thing I'm sure about in this fight are two things: that there'll be some great exchanges, and it's probably gonna be some controversy. They're the only two things I would bank on. But I can see so many different things. I can see one dominating the other. Either one, I can see either one taking the other one out, in their different ways. I can see Spence pummeling Crawford for 4 rounds and taking him out. I can see Crawford timing Spence and catching him and getting him out of there in 5 rounds too. I can see all these different things because there's so many different intangibles. Like, you brought up Crawford hasn't fought the competition Spence has. So that can come into play in the experience factor. Then also you gotta look at the wear and tear on Spence too. His body's been broken down over the years, and it comes to a point when that could show up. So I really don't know what's going to happen in this fight, but I do know there will probably be some controversy. And one thing I do know, this ain't Crawford's promotional company. He doesn't fight for PBC even if he signed for a couple fights. Spence is their guy. So if this fight goes to the cards, I think Spence is going to get that nod. So I say Spence wins a decision in a fight where everybody will think that Crawford won. That's my prediction.
Yeah, for me, it's so 50-50. Like you guys said, it can go either way.
No, I didn't say it can go either.
Well, you didn't say, but
I said it, Daddy. Yeah. He first he went from Spence draw, winning that draw.
You got to be your what they call it, your convictions.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go with them.
Not all the time. Sometimes you got to be like. Sometimes I have to be me. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I got to be honest with myself that, you know what, I tried, but I don't know everything. And this is one of those. I was more sure what would happen in a Mayweather Pacquiao fight than I am in this one because of how they fight and what gives each guy trouble. This fight, I'm not so sure. So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying. That's the only thing that I can see clearly happening.
Well, you know this. You know that Lufsen Rice buckle Bud's knees. You know that, right?
Yeah, and I know punches around that ear buckle Spence's knees too. And the bell will save him.
Okay. Danny, you go ahead, Danny.
Appreciate it.
You off, my bad.
So close fight, right? For me, it comes down to two things: the X factors. Crawford's X factor is, he just has this like appetite for danger. He likes to get hit. Even if he can outbox, he likes to just like see what he can get away with, see what kind of trouble he can get into. And sometimes that gets him hit, sometimes that gets the other guy out of there. So I think that's his like X factor, and he's hyper competitive. Even Shakur said no one on the planet works harder than him. That's his advantage. Spence's factor is I don't think that we've seen the best version of him. I think that he's done exactly what he needed to do to get past the fighters that he's gotten past, and that's been good enough. I think there's more that we haven't seen. So his unknown unknowns is the X factor in this fight. I think his advantage is his corner. As a corner, I genuinely believe in Derek James more than I do Bomac. With respect to Bomac, he's a great trainer. But I think Derek James is the best trainer in boxing right now. And so, with that said, I also think that Spence has let some of his opponents off the hook before. But, when you hear him talk, he wants to beat Bud so bad, he doesn't want the rematch. And so, and on top of that, Spence is kind of, I think that he's holding like kind of a grudge against Bud because of the way the negotiations went. Spence wants to move up to 54. He's tired of making 47. And so I think he's going to take out some of that aggression. I think he's going to do what he does, but just at a higher level. And I think he's going to wear him down and Bud's going to go out on the shield. And so he will stop him in the 11th round. So that is mine. Are we good there, fellas? Do we want to go run through the
so you changed your prediction.
What you mean?
No, I thought you had Crawford by TKO.
No, I had Spence TKO.
Okay, all right. Then and really, I was listening to you. You said everything verbatim from what you said on Sunday. So I was listening closely. I was like, this sounds exactly the same. This dude didn't change nothing.
Oh yeah. I just restated my notes for the people who were listening today. That's all.
So you John Crawford getting that good trouble, huh? You John Lewis, huh? Okay.
I'm for sure that Danny said Crawford would win because I think you had problems with that, Will.
Said that Danny was
No. I'm sorry. That's Ty. That was Ty that said that. My bad.
Let's stick with the flow now. So my boy Bryce, let me see what Spence looks more comfortable with the weight cut than Bud. Okay. Welcome to the show, sir.
I don't know. I saw them both. They both look, like they're training and they're draining.
Can we not argue with the?
No, you won't know until they actually weigh in officially.
Can we not argue with the guy, sir? Just
Man.
no. See,
like you was arguing with people.
Everybody has a right to their opinion, sir. So
they do. So Ty had a right to his opinion. He had a right to be kicked off as the fourth man.
Nolito down there, he'll be in action with Alejandro Santiago. Let's keep it brief. Like, who do you think is going to win this and why? Brief.
This one's kind of hard too because when I look at down there, at their best, at their peaks, down there will wipe out Santiago. I mean, especially a shorter guy who doesn't really move. He doesn't box like, let's say, a Rigo. He doesn't really do that. So he doesn't have anything that can give peak down there trouble. But the age factor with down there, it's the age factor that does it. And it's like each year he gets old, it's like, especially in boxing years at a low weight like that, it's a problem. But I still think style-wise, he still can do some things to Santiago. So I don't think he'll stop Santiago, but I think he'll get one last hurrah and win a decision over Alexandre Santiago.
He'll be the oldest person to win that belt, breaking his own record,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to say he's already the oldest, so yeah, he's breaking his own record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, Vel, it's the age factor is there because he's at that age where it's like he's 40 now. So it's like he's at the age where it's like you don't know what fight the age is really gonna start to show. Santiago, his most recent loss was to Gary Antonio Russell back in 2021. I don't think this is gonna be an easy fight for Donaire. And Santiago was a tough out. He's never been stopped. He's only been knocked down once in his career. But I do think Donaire, even the last version of him that we seen when he fought last, is a better fighter. I think he's with Inoue, being at super bantam. I think Donaire, until shown otherwise, that he's the best bantamweight currently. So I think he's going to win a clear decision.
Yeah, he's like the old dude that was whooping on Rolly, because I think he has a lot more wear and tear on, especially after those Inoue fights.
That guy was the B-side though too.
Yeah, he was a B-side. He was
that ref was like, oh, I'm saying for yourself, old man.
Yeah, and he was fighting Rolly too. So it's kind of a poor comparison. But I do think that age is going to matter. And I just think that at some point, I'm just picking that Donaire is just going to the well a little too often. So I'll say Alejandro Santiago, 11th round TKO victory over the old man. Nonito will ride off into the sunset. He'll recognize that this is a young man's game. Also, we didn't give picks about Danny's favorite fighter.
Oh my God.
We got. I don't
Pit
call
bullet head.
No, I don't talk down on these fighters, man. Isaac Cruz, he's called the pit bull, the pit bully, if you will. He's going to be taking on Giovanni Cabrera. Giovanni, you know what I'm saying, man? Be careful out there against old Isaac. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be coming in winging them shots. Who do we like in this?
Yeah, I'll let you go, Danny, man. This your guy, man.
Well, like will be a strong word, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's your pit bullet head right there.
So, Isaac Cruz is 24-2, 17 knockouts, 5'4", 63-inch reach, 25 years old. He last stopped Eduardo Ramirez in the second round back in September of 2022. But he most recently ducked smoke from Shakur when the WBC ordered that fight. But we're not talking about that right now. So you got Giovanni Cabrera, 21-0 with 7 knockouts, 5'9", 71-inch reach. He's 29 years old. He last beat Gabriel Flores Jr. in July of 2022 by unanimous decision, 10th round unanimous decision. So there's a 5-inch height advantage and looks like an 8-inch reach advantage. But let's keep it real here, okay? Cruz, he's a pick-me who is wasting his career by biding his time because he wants to fight subpar opposition, look good against them, and hopes that he wins to take sweepstakes again. So if I'm being objective, I put that on his team. What's up?
Can I ask you a question about what you just said?
Yes, sir.
Do you blame him?
I don't blame him. I'm just calling a spade a spade. And I think that's his team more so than him. I think he actually wants to fight these guys. But let's call a spade a spade. He doesn't talk a lot, so I think that's his team decision, and I think he goes with that. But that said, I think his team put him against an opponent here with an undefeated record to look like it's a tough fight on paper. But guy has a low knockout rate. His style is tailor-made for Cruz. So I think we're going to get a bullet head stoppage. The bullet head's going to stop him in the 7th round.
And, man, I think you kind of overrating bullet head over there, man. I think Isaac Cruz, I think after there were certain fights even before the Tank fight where he looked like he was the goods, but when that fight between him and Tank was announced, I thought his style was tailor-made. So it's stuff that he does do, that he doesn't just come in and just wings his shots. He comes in, he does use smart movements like that right elbow to the body that blocked Tank's left that Ryan didn't learn. But I still, all in all, I think he did something to service by not taking those tough fights that he should have. And to me, I think he might even be overlooking this guy. You know what I'm saying? And Santiago, a tall guy, and you know what? Cruz doesn't really have problems fighting guys who are tall like that. But I'm looking at Santiago's footwork, and I think his footwork is going to have to make Isaac Cruz to keep him, to move towards him and move around him more than he has to. Because Santiago can fight off the back foot and he can fight going backwards. So I think that will be key in this fight. So I'm picking the upset. I think Alexander Santiago will win a split decision over Isaac Cruz.
Just to confirm, you talk about Cabrera because Santiago is a guy.
I'm sorry. Cabrera. I got these names all written wrong, but Giovanni Cabrera, and I'm not drunk, y'all. It's Tuesday. I gotta work tomorrow. But he's a tall guy, 5'9", so and he can fight going backwards. He do all these different things. I say that Cabrera is gonna win a split decision over Isaac Cruz, and then Danny is gonna rip bullet head apart the next day, and it's talking about how disappointing he is that he lost to a bum like Cabrera, and then it'll be over. And Isaac Cruz be another opponent for somebody else. And then he'll probably get that. He'll probably step in the ring next with Stevenson, and take that whooping too.
So, do you think that this is going to be a actual split decision loss for Cruz, or do you think that
I can see Al Heyman sign that check.
you might have questions?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think this is going to be like legitimate? Like, is it going to be a close fight?
I believe it will be a close fight. It will be a close fight that I believe that Santiago can edge and he can win the hearts of the fans. I'm still gonna pick a split decision, but of course, I can see them judges saying, "Hey, Isaac Cruz 117 and 111," and everybody booing him, and Danny gonna rip him apart on Sunday.
All right, so but you're picking Isaac Cruz to lose in a close fight, but you're picking Spence to win because they're gonna cheat Bud, which would make sense for them to give the win to Isaac Cruz so he can fight Tank Davis, which would be more lucrative than Tank Davis fighting the other guy. I'm just trying to follow your logic, sir. But anyway, in this fight, what I think is, which leads me to believe that you just have a disdain for Errol Spence. You truly believe.
I don't have no. I picked him to win.
Bud, but you don't want to say that he's gonna all out smoke Bud.
Didn't I just say he could? I said it's a possibility.
You just want to
I said it's a possibility. I can see that.
Hand down, man down, sir. So Isaac Cruz is going to go in here. He's going to do his thing. He's going to get this guy up out of there, which is going to set up another fight with him and Tank Davis. That's what I say. So I think it's going to be roughly about 6 rounds. Isaac Cruz don't play around. He's going to go in there. If he's not hitting him up top, he's going to hit him to the body. He's going to get those guards down, and then he's going to smoke this dude. Isaac Cruz is top 3 lightweights in the world. So he's going to
say his face. Cruz will lose, and Tank is going to fight Chris Colbert.
Okay. All right. That sounds very graphic.
When we say Will, you gotta address that comment about Isaac Cruz being top 3, man. I saw Danny's face.
You don't have to.
So who would be your top 5 right now? I'm just looking at what Ring Magazine has it. That's what they said.
Devin Haney. Devin
Haney is probably gonna move up.
That doesn't matter right now. Today, Devin Haney is number 1.
Just because Devin Haney,
he hasn't even vacated yet. He's number 1.
So don't worry about it, man. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is the news. And so with the news, you had the press conferences today, or I should say the grand entrances of each guy. So you see here, you have Bud Crawford, him and his crew. He was saying how it's good to be amongst those guys that he came in with. And then also Spence, he spoke and he talked about, living for this moment, wanting to be, in a fight of this magnitude. This is what it's all about. That's what he's built for. And this is what he always envisioned for himself. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see it, but I'll share out with a couple other things that I noticed in the buildup. Not that this is necessarily going to impact the result of the fight, but I do sense that Errol Spence is much more confident in these type of environments. And, as far as the press conferences, the magnitude and the large crowds and things like that, being able to articulate his vision and everything leading up to this fight. So that's one thing that I saw. I thought Bud had a little bit more nervous energy. Not that any of those things matter when those guys get inside the ring, because you can be somebody who doesn't necessarily like to speak in front of crowds and, that sort of thing, but you could find your comfort zone inside the ring. And so I'm not saying that means anything, but I do recognize that and I do sense that as the press conferences, or I should say the Grand Arrivals took place. They had all of them. So you had from the undercard all the way up to the main event. It was a pretty cool event. I think tomorrow is going to be the workouts. They're going to do another workout. And then after that, it's going to be the final press conference, then the weigh-in, and then you're gonna have the fight. But you guys have any thoughts, so far with any of the promotion that's been going on leading up to this big event?
Hey, just let them, the best man here. It's been years. They finally here. And to you, Will, you can call me an Errol Spence hater, but I wouldn't be surprised if Errol Spence get him out there in 6 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised. But that goes either way because this is a fight I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. If someone said, people ask me at work all the time who do I think is going to win, and I say, you can call me a boxing fan, whatever, but I don't know. I really don't know. I told them, if you like to gamble, don't gamble on this. Don't do it.
Is the winner of this fight top pound for pound person?
Before this morning, I said yes. After this morning, it's going to depend on how they win. If it's a close fight that's debatable, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. That's something I'll let the numbers decide that when we do pound for pound in a few weeks.
Yeah, now if it's a close, exciting fight where it's fight of the year, you might have an argument. But it's a close fight that's just either just skilled and contested or a boring fight like De La Hoya and Trinidad. No.
Yeah, I would say, to me, I think because of the magnitude, the stakes of this fight, this is the Pernell Whitaker Chavez fight, that was going to determine who was the pound for pound fighter. I think it's very eerily similar to that, because maybe in other situations where you might have had some other people who were like, they had other dance partners that, okay, you looked at their resumes like, dang, he beating him like Roy Jones just beat James Toney. So if they fight, then it's gonna be tough to top that. But I don't think Inoue beating. I know you say the going up in weight and stuff like that,
but it's how he beat him, though, man. It's just how he did it, and then he showed that he can box, man. Like we knew he could box, but not like that.
No, it's like what Roger Mayweather said. Who the motherfucker beat, man? Who the motherfucker, like, who did he beat? Like, yeah, he can beat all of those guys that's on his resume, but at the same time, who are they, man? You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me, like, and so who Cool Boy beat? Brandon Figueroa? Like, is that what we doing? And then, but again, I commend him for going up to face the top guy in that weight class. Like that's the reason why I say right now, as we speak, yeah, you're the number 1 pound for pound guy. But they're fighting another pound for pound guy. See, that's huge.
They are. See that? And so is Trinidad and De La Hoya. Well, after that fight, I was like, neither of them deserve to be number 1.
How can you fault Trinidad for what De La Hoya was doing when he was running around the ring?
Like, but Trinidad's always skilled enough to cut that ring off and make some stuff happen. He didn't really do that.
Literally running from you in the ring. Like, what can you do? Like, tackle him? You know what I'm saying? Because I think that De La Hoya, he started feeling that power, and then what he ended up doing, he started running, and he didn't want to, end up on his back. So that's why I say I can't take that away from Trinidad. So if he was the number 1 pound for pound guy after whooping on Oscar De La Hoya, then that's what that was. Also, the last topic of the day, Oscar De La Hoya, he said that he wants Ryan Garcia to take a tune-up in November. The only problem is that Ryan, he wants to fight Rolly. And so what do you guys think about that?
I think Ryan's probably going to be Go to Boy Productions anyway. So that'll be it. He's going to fight Rolly. That's what I think. He's going to fight Rolly by hook or by crook. He's probably going to have to sign with PBC to do it. I don't think Oscar is savvy enough of a businessman to be able to keep Ryan Garcia, even if he could legally do it. To me, he's a disaster as a businessman. So Ryan's fighting Rolly with Golden Boy or without Golden Boy.
Here's the problem, though. So I don't know if you know, Danny. Is it O'Hari Davis or something like that? He's the mandatory. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's also with Golden Boy, and that's who Oscar wants to fight Rolly. He's trying to push for them two to fight. And that's why he's kind of telling, Ryan, in addition to probably wanting him to take tune up,
Is Ahari Davis assigned to Golden Boy?
Yes.
Oh, he is. I didn't know that.
So that's the problem. And Danny, I don't want to take away your time, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk first.
No, I mean you are correct, and what you're saying. The only thing I was going to add to that is that um, I think it would be beneficial, especially when he switched trainers again, to not go straight into another big fight. I thought the tune-up they were trying to set up in January would have been beneficial, but especially when you're switching trainers like this, I would definitely do a tune-up. That way you get the chance. Granted, you might lose some money because Davies could very well beat Rolly if that fight goes down. But at least you come in the best version of yourself, and whoever you fight after that.
Ryan Gone get knocked out by old Rolly.
Yeah, I don't see. I would if it wasn't Rolly. Like if it was somebody else, that's like what you said. You gonna mess around and let somebody else dust him off, and I can go ahead and make it. If he's telling the truth about what he made against Tank, then shoot, I'll go in there and get about 10 for Rolly. You know what I'm saying? As much noise as he gonna be talking, and sometimes you can't. It may be like an adverse effect as far as his development. But I think that where he is right now, I would highly favor him. I highly favor pretty much anybody against Rolly. And that fight, the fight of the magnitude, and it could help him as far as his confidence because then he'll go into another major event. And this time he actually is victorious. You know what I'm saying? And so he can take him some, kind of tune-up-ish type fights after, but I don't know what they'll do as far as that belt. It seemed like it's the Wild Wild West. I think that's the WBA. So who knows what they'll do as far as like mandating him to face, whomever. Because I don't know if O'Hari Davis, if he'll try to take a fight in the interim, it could be somebody that could end up upsetting him. Then you have to face him. Who knows? But I would take that Rolly fight. And then I would also do my best to get the hell away from Oscar De La Hoya because you're not working for me. That's like them telling Spence, like, no, man, Bud, don't fight Bud. Take you a tune-up or, no, you got to fight Keith Thurman. And it's like, no, you work for me, man. Like, I'm telling you what I want. So how you going to sit up here and do that, man? So that just further, reemphasize the fact that he needs to get the hell away from Oscar.
I think he got a few more years in that contract though, so we'll see how it shakes out. I don't remember what kind of leverage Canelo had to get up out of it, but it's a few more years. But all you got to do if Davies, get Davies out the way, and when I say get Davies out the way, I mean let him fight Rolly, but then let 20 weeks be the rough again.
Then to your point, Daddy. To your point, Daddy. You're right though. You might have a few years on his contract, but you got to understand. De La Hoya is the same promoter that ended up losing all them fighters on PBC was once on Golden Boy Productions. He lost all of them. Legally or illegally, he did it. So,
no, that's what I'm gonna tell you.
You can't be a good businessman if that happened to you. It's something, your lawyers, something had to be wrong for that to happen.
That's what you do. You go over there, you take Oscar to South Beach. Okay, y'all go out there, y'all party on South Beach. You slide him a bit of that cocaine, and then you have your contract. And you be like, just sign that right there, Oscar. He over there partying and stuff. Like, well, yeah, okay. This the bill right here. You out of it, man. You out of your contract.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, man. Let me go
You're a great fighter.
Yeah,
You'll be the new me. You'll be like Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya.
Right. Anything else, you guys? I think that's the last topic of the day, man. Make sure to like, subscribe button. We got Big Bo Mac over there with the cheese, mac and cheese. You know what I'm saying? In the show. Anything else you guys have, man? As we wrap this one up, man, that's a double play. You know what I'm saying? What's that? A double header down there.
Yeah.
Then also Tuesday. But it was well worth it, man. That was a good fight earlier as far as showcasing of the talent of the monster. You know what I'm saying? So. Anytime you have a fight like that, and then you also had a fight that's coming up this Saturday, I think it's worth it to go ahead and have 2 shows in 1 week.
Yeah, it's finally here, man. It's all worth it. Hey, May the best man win.
Yeah, man. If you're listening and you listen to one of the episodes this week, appreciate you. If you listen to both of the episodes, really appreciate you. But it's really a week, an epic week in boxing. I don't remember the last time we've gotten fights like this in 1 week. And it is just getting started. You know what I mean? So appreciate y'all rocking with us. And we looking forward to the big one on Saturday, and we look forward to being back here on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm gonna try to figure it out as far as what I'm gonna do, and how I'm gonna go ahead and be able to participate. But we'll see. But on that note, man, that's a perfect segue to get on up out of here. You all have a great rest of your week, and go Spence.